This week, Steve, we are talking about the New York Knicks. And it feels like we have had varying degrees of thoughts about the New York Knicks this year, where it was, hey, this offense is really good. What's going on with the defense? And then, oh my, the defense is perking up and this offense remains very good. They win the NBA Cup. And since winning the NBA Cup, they have not been a very good basketball team. So overall this year, Steve, 26-18, they're third in the Eastern Conference, which if I told you that before the year, it's probably degrees of like, this is fine, or maybe a little bit underwhelming because of where the defense is per cleaning the glass, third in offense, 18th in defense, but still a top 10 point differential. Since December 16th, since they won the NBA Cup title, a 116 offensive rating, that's 13th. And thank goodness they were able to play the Brooklyn Nets and blow the doors off of them to raise that number. A 119.1 defensive rating, Steve, per cleaning the glass. That is 26th in the league. And that was above 120 before that Nets win. And a minus 3.1 net rating, that is 19th in the league. So just on a very base level, how are you absorbing this Knicks season? Because you talk often about figuring out what a team is. They hit this point of the season where teams know who you are, so they're trying to poke at things to figure things out. Like, what is your concern level with this recent, 19, 20 game stretch with the Knicks?
Well, I think this is part of the regular season. This is part of the journey for a team to try and figure out, understand these stress tests for a team's identity. There's going to be questions about your strengths and weaknesses if you have success. And so we saw the really good part of what the Knicks could be. And I think part of what we have talked about on this podcast is Coach Mike Brown coming in, more of an offensive emphasis, empowering more players to contribute. And ideally, you would think, okay, if our offense is better, we're playing quicker, we have Jalen Brunson, he's cooking at a certain level. So the defense, while it may not be what it was under Tibbs, it can, with the personnel you have, can have a strong base to where we can sustain. So if we have a better offense, our defense might slip a little bit. We can kind of operate in a higher potential. We can be more versatile. We can work it out. I think the issue we've seen, and number one, winning is hard, Nekias. Sustaining success in this league is hard. It's not easy. You get to this point of the season, you cross the halfway mark. You're not just seeing yourself in the mirror, right? You're seeing all these other teams that are staring at you, wanting what you have achieved and trying to take you down a peg. And I think what they have to understand, that what they have to solidify is their base. They have to solidify their defensive base. They have to be a team that is able to be consistent on that end, have the right mindset on that end to be able to, not be a team that gets beat off the dribble every night, that struggles in transition, because they have clear things that teams are going to attack. They're going to put Jalen Brunson in action come playoff time. They're going to put karl-Anthony Towns in action. And so you need to have the ability to know when we're switching, when we're being active on ball, when we're showing help. We have to have all that sewed up so that when we have to deal with those parts, we can live with portions. It can't be a wheel of we're struggling with our base defensively and teams are poking at those two. That makes it really tough. And then offensively, I think that this is a natural portion for them. There's been slippage on that end, and I don't know if it's necessarily the Knicks' fault. I think it's teams adjusting and understanding. We're going to be physical with you. We're going to pressure you. It's fun. It's fantastic that Mike Brown has come in and we want to play with tempo. We want to get into our sets early. We want to put more pressure on teams and get into multiple actions. The issue with that is, okay, we put full court pressure. We get you back to starting your actions with 16 on the clock. And now, okay, that movement, how much are you getting to? We switch off ball. We are physical off ball. How much are you now putting pressure on us? And so it's navigating those aspects offensively. And if the offense slips, which it did during that stretch, now you're in transition defensively. So on top of your defensive flaws, which we'll get to, you're not set. And so we are able to run on you. If you go back and watch that Dallas-New York game, it's just a whole lot of transition from Dallas.
It's just that.
And it's just okay. They can't live with that. So I think for the Knicks, they have a twofold understanding. The positive is you have seen the good, so you can believe in the good. The opposite is now, how do we get back to it? Not an odd point for this part of the season, but they have to navigate that portion.
Okay, I think that's all fair. I'd say let's hang on the defense for a bit, because I think that is the loudest portion of the Knicks' struggles. And as we talked about heading into the year, we think this offense is going to be good. We think this offense is going to be a little bit different with what Mike Brown wants to do and who he wants to empower. You just have to get the defense to a level. It'll be great if this is going to be if this is a top 5 unit. It'll be very good if it's a top 10 unit. You just can't be bad, was kind of the general thought heading into the year. And so the fact that they have been one of the 5 worst defenses in the league for this is a 19 game stretch that we're talking about here. Like, this is not an insignificant, this isn't a bad week. Like, this is a bad run to the point where, they get blasted by the Mavericks. And to your point, it's a lot of transition attacks. And we have the players only meeting that isn't a players only meeting, but the players met maybe with coaches, maybe without coaches. I don't know how we are designating that, but whatever. And then they come out and just beat the brakes off the Nets. So, like, you take that, but, like, I don't know if that's enough to just say, oh, everything is fixed now, that kind of thing. But to the defense, I guess the thing that stands out to me with this group is, like, it feels like there is a lack of trust in each other. And I think that bleeds into, to your point, are we switching this or are we not? If we're going to be active, is the help going to be in? Is it not? If this is a non-shooter, are we helping off of this guy and being intentional about that? Or do you think that's actually a breakdown and I messed up my assignment? Now you're going to cover that guy and now we're in scramble mode once again. And, like, you see that in transition as well. Like, who are we picking up? How quickly are we picking up that person? Are we delegating assignments from there? Overall, this year, the Knicks top 10 league in terms of limiting transition attacks, which is a good thing. They're 29th in terms of actual points per possession allowed in transition. Like, that is not very good. And if you filter it for that stretch since December 16th, the splits are not what you would like for them to be. I will just put it that way. Not going to bore the audience with a bunch of numbers, but it's not good where the Knicks are there. And so I just wonder, and I'll toss this to you, Steve, is there a tweak you'd like to see them make to kind of establish more of that trust, to your point, building up that defensive base? Or is this just going to take time? Like, what goes into fixing that kind of thing?
Well, number one, what I'll tell you is you never bore our audience with numbers. They love it. It makes my brain hurt sometimes, but that's okay. Number two, I think it's just they have to establish the base. And so what I mean by base is what can I trust every single night from you defensively? What are you going to do every single night? Are you keeping the ball in front? Are you pressuring the ball? Do you trust your help? Do you know when to help? Do you have the nuance to understand, okay, there's a drive, I'm at the nail. Am I going to oversell to help and open up a different play? Or am I going to be able to know, okay, they got that? That's the issue I feel like for the Knicks. Are they a perfect defensive unit? Absolutely not. But I think when you hear like Coach Mike Brown, you hear Jalen Brunson, they're talking about the mindset. When they have the mindset to consistently work on that end of the floor, they can live with the results. They can, they can have active ball pressure. They can be physical off ball. They can be ready and anticipate any sort of movement and be prepared to navigate screens. They have the personnel to get that done night in and night out. It's not a perfect world, but when they give that effort, you see it jump off the screen. The issue for them is containing the breakdowns. And so when they get into the mode where they're not switching properly, off ball or on ball, that opens up plays. When they get into the mode where they're over helping and saying, okay, I need to be here to protect karl-Anthony Towns or Jalen Brunson or protect against this drive. Now you're opening up a play. When they get into the mode where they're not helping as much, when teams go to pick and roll and they're able to kind of just navigate and throw passes, and now you're balancing that out. What New York has to avoid, right, is the world where they are having a rotating wheel of issues defensively, right? It can't be a world where you kind of set a back screen. And, there are times, especially against Phoenix, like Devin Booker sets a back screen. Bridges has him, doesn't want to switch because Brunson's involved. It's an easy layup, right? And Josh Hart against Brooklyn sees a back screen. It's like, hey, OG, I'll take the switch. OG's like, no, I'm fighting over. Opens up a three for Michael Porter Jr. Those don't seem like massive issues, but you need to have that trust, as you said, to be able to navigate that. When they're working well, you see it. When they are not, you see how they try and overcompensate with those issues, right? They try and show that early help to be like, hey, I'm in. You have to make a play, and that works. But now that early help can work against you. Teams go empty corner actions, and you pull in, they hit a three. And now you're like, well, I don't want to help as much. And now you don't have the help. They hit the roller. They have to live in a world where they pick their poison. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that you put it that way, because I think it would be an easier conversation to have if it was just, these baked in help issues or trust issues defensively. And it's because Brunson's getting put in action, or because KAT's being put in action, or those two are being put in action together. And they're just trying to navigate that. The fact that it's kind of been everyone is where it's been most concerning for me. And I was, joking with you a little bit before we started recording. Like, I had this rant loaded up. I don't think I'm going to go full blown rant. But the screen navigation for New York has been so disappointing for like the last month and a half, if not longer, even when the defense was kind of trending up. Because if you remember, when we had a conversation about the Knicks earlier this year, I was one of the ones saying, hey, Mikal Bridges playing incredibly well. He's certainly enjoying the empowerment offensively. He's kind of back to all defense levels. I do not feel that way anymore about the Mikal Bridges defensive experience. I have to, adjust my expectations for like what his screen navigation is at this point. Because it started out well this year. And like the amount of times that he gets dinged, which then if he's defending with KAT's like, well, shoot, do I need to come all the way up here? Am I just holding a beat until he gets back? You having that indecision up top. And then behind that, okay, we're kind of loaded in. Do we need to stay here? And if you're facing any kind of offense that has off-ball screening, off-ball movement, any kind of exchanges, any kind of cuts from the wing, the Knicks have to navigate that part too. And it's like, well, darn. So like watching Mikal get dinged with his screen navigation, watching OG Anunoby, who's been in and out of the lineup this year, has been very good defensively overall, like seeing that kind of tail off during this stretch. Also not making shots, but I think they'll come back around. If those are your two best defenders, or at least in theory your two best defenders, and you can't trust them up top, you already have question marks about Jalen Brunson. You already have question marks about KAT. Like, how many people can compensate for 4 of the 5 being some kind of issue? And if not an issue, at the very least, I don't know if he's got it. And like that indecision, I think, kind of permeates this group right now.
Well, I mean, I think it's screen navigation goes 2 ways, right? So I think I understand what you're saying, where it's like, hey, you're getting hit and now we're dinged and we're tough. We got to talk about how well they navigate as far as knowing when to go over and go under. But they also get hit on those unders, Nekias, to where it's like, okay, I don't want to put KAT or Mitchell Robinson in action. I'm gonna be here, be physical, slide under, and now we give up these threes. And so it's the blend that they have to figure out. They have to be able to trust each other enough to know, okay, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna execute this consistently, and we're gonna be able to have that base. So I think the base is strong, and the reason, Nekias, that I think they need to have the stronger base. And they had it early. Like, you just have to, like, defensively, you have to have, from a coaching perspective, an understanding of what we're not good at, right? You need to be able to, like, every coach wants a level of control to a degree in a game that you can't control. But you want to at least have an understanding of what we're up against and what we may struggle with. When you are now presented with 2 extra issues because we're not switching properly, we're not navigating screens, we're not keeping them on front, it's like when like your auto pay hits on like 4 things at the same time. And it's like, hey, I know, but also why? And now I'm trying to figure out what to do next. So I think that's important. But I think it also ties into, if that base isn't strong enough, now the karl-Anthony Towns and the Jalen Brunson portion becomes a little bit more of an issue, because with KAT, and I've been a big believer in the karl-Anthony Towns defensive experience, right? I think that you can get to a point, even if you're not the best defender, you can do your job defensively. The question now becomes with KAT, what is the best scheme for him? What's the best scheme that works with this Knicks defense? And do you get to a world where those issues tie into your other issues defensively, where you don't have trust and you now tend to overhelp? For me, and I think we've talked about this, KAT's most trusted coverage was probably just him being at the level, right? You knew there would be a certain level of activity. You knew he'd be up. You knew defense would know to be in early and they'd be able to rotate out of it. That has regressed as far as like KAT's timing hasn't felt the same. KAT's contain hasn't felt the same. And when it has been good, the recoveries aren't great. The rotations, like the early help isn't in. That's felt like a mess. And so you get to this point with the Knicks where they're like, okay, side pick and roll. we're going to keep it on the side, which extremely ironic considering they just got rid of Tom Thibodeau.
Get rid of Tibbs.
The icing side pick and roll. But okay, that puts KAT in a drop. Okay, ties back to your screen navigation point. You have the people who should be able to navigate screens, but if I run an action, put Jalen Brunson and make him navigate, what do we have? Is KAT going to have the anticipation, the preparedness to protect the rim? You know, it's not necessarily, you don't have to block shots. You just have to be in the right spot to dissuade things to let your player recover. I have liked his effort on some of the late switches. When a guard's able to get downhill, snake, okay, I'm going to take the matchup. We'll recover. We'll be good there. That's a positive. But how do you navigate that? Because if you like, do you like the double big lineup, Nekias?
I liked it more earlier in the year than what it's looked like as of late. But I mean, that is just the Knicks experience right now.
Understood. But here's the thing: you go double big, we compound the issue because now what's KAT doing? Is KAT in the drop when Mitchell Robinson is in? Maybe sometimes, but he may also be a switch. And he has made the effort to switch, to keep the ball in front, to make multiple efforts. So I don't want to take that away from him. The issue is now, okay, how consistent is his weak side play when he is not on the ball, when he's having to help and recover and get back out? So how do you navigate that portion? How many times do you want to switch him? Do you trust your help around it? And then you see teams all the time, they say, hey, we're going to run double pick and roll. And the screeners are going to be Jalen Brunson's man and karl-anthony Towns' man. And hey, what are you guys prepared to do about this? And so you get to like this mix of regular season questions and playoff questions. And it's like, if my advice to the Knicks would be like, get your base in order so you can now navigate these other portions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I think that's fair. And like KAT comes with his own limitations that we should all understand at this point, this late in his career. And it's like also exacerbated by the fact that the structure around him either hasn't been good, hasn't been consistent, or both. If we're just talking about this recent month. And like that's where go back to our conversation we had earlier this week. We're having the all NBA conversation and the All-Star conversation. It's like, where are you at on KAT? And just the criticism around KAT. Because, like, I don't want to come off like y'all are being too mean to KAT, leave him alone, he's great, etc. He is a great player, to be clear. Like, there are valid criticisms to levy towards KAT. He has these inherent limitations, as you mentioned, the at the level thing, which has always been my answer with him, is what his best coverage is. If you're not going to be good at your best coverage, like at a certain point, like what do you do? Like, I appreciate the late switches too, but like I know you're not Bam. Like, I know you're not just going to ask you to switch 20, 30 times a game and just be okay with that. So, like, you do have to get back to doing your job. Not the wow. And so, like, I don't want to lose that portion of it. But it's just been so weird watching the structure around. Unless you get, as you mentioned, KAT and Jalen Brunson, like something that's been popping with me, and we've talked about this before in the history of this podcast, with Brunson in New York, it's like, okay, what is his coverage? Are we asking him to navigate? Are we going to show him recovers? Are we switching him? If we do switch him, are we just trusting him to hang and we just help behind that? Is it going to be switching double? It doesn't feel like they've, at least over the last month or so, they haven't had great answers to that either. Can I give you a quick stat, Steve?
Absolutely, my friend.
With Jalen Brunson. So before December 16th, when Jalen Brunson was doing the show recover or flat out trap when involved as a screen defender, the Knicks were giving up 0.9 points per possession on those trips. Pretty solid number. Since December 16th, that has skyrocketed to 1.22 points per possession, which is essentially like worst defense in the league levels.
Okay. And so if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Jalen Brunson doing the prayer emoji. That's what Knicks fans should.
That's what they should be doing. And it's just like, go back to that Dallas game. And like, these were two possessions that the Knicks ultimately didn't give up points on, but you kind of see, and it's something that's kind of popped for me on film when watching the Knicks on defense. Whereas, okay, we're going to go show and recover with Jalen Brunson. The best version of him is when he gets up, gets out of there very quickly, he retreats, or at the very least, he's going to get up there, he's really going to pressure the ball, kind of push that ball handler back, and then get out of there. There have been these reps with Jalen Brunson as of late to where he's going up to show, he just kind of flies past the ball handler, and whoever he's defending with is like, okay, I guess I need to stay here then. And then the help behind that is like, well, I guess we got to stay here then because Jalen Brunson is now like 10 feet behind the play trying to get back to somebody. And it's like, you can't have those. Like, there are already just size questions and things. Like, if you are botching that and the help behind you hasn't been good either, like, everybody looks bad when something like that isn't happening. So,
no, I think it ties back to just having your base. Like, you want to be in a position where defensively we know what we're going to give up, but we can live with it, and then we can build on it, right? Because we've seen the Knicks be willing to switch Jalen Brunson on certain players and say, hey, go ahead, give the switch, contain, contest. It is what it is. There are times where that player is just taller, takes 4 dribbles, goes near the block, shoots over him. That happens. But there are times where he's been able to kind of be physical and contain a drive and be okay. The issue now becomes the communication aspect. It can't be Jalen Brunson sees screen coming. Jalen Brunson says, hey, I'm going to switch on this. Defender doesn't believe in Jalen Brunson switching on that. You have 2 on the ball. Now a pop happens. It can't be Jalen Brunson is like, okay, I'm not switching. I'm going to show early. And then, the defender is like, cool, good job. Glad you took that. I'm going to take yours. And now a lane is open. You have to be clean and consistent defensively, even if you're going to take a hit, even if you have a weakness or an aspect that doesn't work out for you. It has to be something that you are able to understand and comprehend. That's what the Knicks have to figure out. Get this thing solid. Pour some concrete down. Put some roots down.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Get some slides on. Whatever you got to do to kind of have a base, get that settled, and then understand what's coming next. Take the wheel out of the equation. I think the defense is so important for them so they can get out and run, so they can attack on the other end. The offense is taking a step back at certain times because teams are more physical, teams are pressuring the ball more, full court pressure. We talked about that. But I think those things are fixed. Like, you can fix those things. I think we both would agree we have a confidence in the Knicks offense that they will be okay on that end. If they want to hit their championship goals, they want to hit their championship ambitions, they have to be at a certain level defensively. And that's where I'm at right now, because you mentioned early, hey, they're the 3 seed. Boston's 2. Detroit hasn't left. You were knocking on Detroit's door. And now look where you're at. And you think Philadelphia is afraid of you? Do you think Orlando is afraid of you? Do you think Miami is afraid of you? Do you think any of these teams that could be the 3-6 or even the 2-7 are scared of what you bring to the table? That's the world you got to live in. This is the Eastern Conference. This is what we're dealing with. And so you have to prepare for a different version. You've done a lot of good things. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, this is not the Knicks are trash. Ha ha ha. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
But you got to understand what you need to do to go to the next level, because you're a lot closer to the Raptors than you are to the Pistons.
Yeah. You gotta
Safe space, you're locked. The Cavs are right there.
Hey, man, I was talking about this in the group chat this week. Like, I'm just kind of ready to talk about the Cavs. We're not going to do this on this episode. But hey, man, some things are happening. Some things are intriguing to me. We're going to be talking about the Cavs soon. So, Steve, I have a respectfully messy thought and then a question for you as we transition to the offense.
Okay.
To put a bow on the defense bit, with all due respect to these 2 players, they have played well. Landry Shamet and Deuce McBride should not be this important to the Knicks defense.
No, you got to respect. You got to respect scrappiness. You got to respect activity. You got to respect full court pressure. You got to respect dribble handoff. I'm running through that. You got to respect that. Respect the small scrappy guards fighting for their life.
I do. I think for me is like ideal case, like you were getting, again, all defense caliber stuff from OG or all defense caliber stuff from Mikal, and Josh Hart's playing well, and Mitchell Robinson does the rim protection. Like those 2, Shamet and Deuce, they should be more bonuses. They should be, here's the second unit wave, and they gonna help. They just kind of been 2 of their best guys. And that's where I'm just like, hey, I don't think this is what y'all were budgeting for heading into the year. That's the major point.
No, you are masking this as criticism of their wings. I understand it now. It's settling. What I would say is the secondary reason that they're important is because of Mike Brown's willingness to play these 3 guard lineups, right? And so those two have fully understood the mission. Hey, if I want more of these minutes, if I defend at a high enough level, I'm going to be out there, So he's willing to play it. And so it's going to be interesting to see the rotation, the splits. Like, we don't have to belabor that. I'm sure we'll revisit it. But, like, you have Clarkson, you know exactly what he's going to do. And you have Kolek, you know exactly what they're going to do. McBride and Shamet are kind of the ceiling elevators to a degree, as far as if Deuce has it going offensively and he is active defensively, it's tough to deal with. If Landry is active defensively, not getting hunted, and he's making shots, it's tough to deal with. So that's kind of where I think that gets interesting for New York.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Now, to flip it to the offense, which again has been the strong suit of New York's team this year overall. During the stretch, they've been more so average, 15th in offensive rating since December 16th per clean the glass. I actually want to start with KAT and Brunson because I think the McHale and OG thing is probably pretty easy to talk about. Hey, be consistently aggressive, knock down your threes. OG in particular has just been in a cold spell from behind the arc. Like, I think those things are going to flip. Where are you at with the Brunson KAT partnership offensively?
Are you asking about KAT in particular, or just those two together?
No, those two in action together. Because it's another year in which it starts hot, and then teams are like, hey, what if we just treat you like this? And then the effectiveness wanes. And so, like, are you concerned about them not hitting their ceiling together?
I'm not concerned about them together. It's just how teams counter KAT. He's dealt with this forever. Hey, you're doing real good, man. Switch. Hey, you're doing great, man. Here's a wing. Hey, Jalen Brunson, you're doing fantastic. Here's length. Like that's just the inevitable deal they're going to face, and that's just an example of your success coming back at you. I think for me with KAT, like I'm not worried about those two, especially because the Knicks have. It's not as much we're going to wait and run a pick and roll with these two or run a post up. They have more around their offense. And so they've had good moments after they flow, and now KAT's catching at the elbow and flashing. Now he can be a hub. And so it's going to be on KAT to get the drives to an area where it feels better than just HB dive with an occasional Euro step. I think he's got the mix of, I can get a switch, get a deep seal. I can space the floor. I can be in action with different people. We know what he can do offensively. Jalen Brunson's just been very good all year long. It's more so less them in partnership and more making sure you have them going at the same time. That to me is the most important thing. And I think that's been the balance for Coach Mike Brown in figuring out how to get the most out of KAT, not to integrate him into the system, as many say, but it's just like, okay, if we want to get him in the post, what does that do to our offense? How does that affect our flow? Because now, okay, we took 7 seconds to get KAT the ball in the post. And it's not like KAT is always the most quick when it comes to decision making. So if he wants to jab, pump fake, that's 5 more seconds. And now, boy, I hope you made the shot. And so it's like, okay, how many of those are going to result in help, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. I think to bounce off what you said, like, it's also funny because you have this KAT ordeal also with, hey, sometimes these catches are also getting pushed out. So he's doing all this stuff 19, 20 feet from the basket on top of all that. But like, to your point about getting those two going at the same time, like, I agree with you, and I think it is important. I will say, like, on a very basic level, it would be easier to get those two going at the same time if they could consistently generate good offense together. Like, to your point about, hey, we're just going to turn some of this into switches. Like, the thing that's been popping for me, and like, it started with, probably didn't literally start with this, but as far as like this caught my eye, I want to keep a close eye on this. Like that Clippers game where Zubac is like, I'm just going to be at the level, or I'm just going to show sometimes. And like watching Brunson and KAT navigate that, you would think, all right, they're getting 2 on the ball. This is going to be a KAT pop, or if he does dive, it's going to be a quick pass to KAT. And now it's 4-on-3 or 3-on-2, whatever the case would be. And it kind of wasn't that. It was more so something that we talked about last year on the pod when discussing Jalen Brunson's playmaking growth. One of the things that I liked was he's seeing 2, he's getting it to the wing very quickly, and then they kind of play tic-tac-toe from there. I think teams are getting more used to that with Jalen Brunson, and like that's concerning is probably too strong of a word, but it's like, Jalen, and I talked about his playmaking growth again this year. The lobs to Mitchell Robinson, he's becoming a better interior passer. But it's like, okay, Jalen needs to take another step as a playmaker, I think, to make this work with the KAT pick and rolls in particular. Because if you have switches, like there is a tiny window for like pocket passes if KAT slips out of there. But like when he is getting dropped or when he is getting two on the ball, there are windows that Jalen Brunson just kind of has to access more consistently than he has been. And like, again, the Clippers game kind of sparked the thought, and I was going back through some Knicks stuff yesterday to kind of prep for this. And so something that I looked up was like, okay, what exactly is the KAT Brunson pick and roll looking like? Before December 16th, about 23 picks per 100 possessions, 1.08 points per possession on any trip featuring a Brunson KAT pick and roll, which is a very good number among the best among high volume pairings. They were seeing switches on about 20% of those. They were seeing two on the ball, about 10% of those. Since the 16th, Steve, about 24 per 100 possessions, so about similar volume, 0.96 points per possession, which is more average, and certainly not where you want to be with these two talented offensive players. Switch rate has dropped about 7%, which is interesting to me, to your point about let's just put a wing on KAT, et cetera. The blitz rate is at nearly 13% now. And again, it's like Jalen Brunson sees to get it to Mikal on the wing or something. Not saying that as a bad solution, but if you zoom out to the overall, how do we get KAT involved? The fact that he's not consistently getting these kind of pops for threes to help with the three-point volume, he's not getting these dives on time to where he can attack without having to worry about somebody sliding under him and exacerbating the turnover issue. It's like, I feel like some of that is on Jalen. And again, some of that is just defense is kind of adjusted to how he wants to approach that coverage in particular. So it's just something that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. I hope I'm not like overthinking that, but it's interesting to me how those two are kind of playing together. And again, it's another year where they were here for the first 2 months of the year. And as the season goes on, the efficiency starts doing this. It's just kind of like, it's weird.
Understood. The E word has popped back up. So that is my cue.
That's your
to
cue.
ask you if you have
Okay.
any final Knicks thoughts.
I think final Knicks thoughts for me. There's some rumblings about a Gerson Yabusele trade. And he also had like the tweet or post or something kind of alluding to this may be it for him in New York. So I guess we want to see what New York wants to do there. To your 3-guard point, it's been interesting tracking. Hey, Tyler Koleck's getting minutes. This is cool. Oh no, let's sit you down for a little bit. Hey, Jordan Clarkson, we really appreciate the scoring. Hey, big dog, what are you doing? You come sit next to me. I am kind of curious, like how much faith level Mike Brown has in the secondary guards right now. So that part is something I'm keeping an eye on as well. Just hope Mitchell Robinson's okay. Just a general thought there. That probably does it. I want better from Mikal on both ends. And I want better from offensively from OG. But that's kind of, I'm not saying the Knicks are just finished kind of bit, but it's been odd. You got to turn it around. Nets game should be a first step for them, but we will see where it lands.